This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, February 19th, 2019, episode 214. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig, and of course, check out our website, which is infectionpodcast.com. You can check out our latest program. Last week was a great episode. If you missed it, we spent a lot of time talking about the massive layoffs at Activision Blizzard, plus all 212 episodes before that are right here on our homepage. On our right sidebar here, you can join our Discord server, join our Steam group, which we don't use a whole lot. We spam before the show and let people know that we're live. And then if you would like to subscribe to our podcast, maybe you want to listen to it on your ride into work, or if you take public transit on a bus or train, you can do so and subscribe to almost any podcast app out there on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. We talked about it at the end of last week's show. Brian was unavailable earlier this week to do a program, and I've got some stuff going on at the end of the week. So we came to a compromise. So I'll be doing an hour or so of news here, and then Brian and I have pre-recorded a conversation about Battle Royale games and talking about some of the new things going on. I apologize for my voice. I'm sick. I currently have a fever. I'm running a fever right now. I'm all over the place, but we're going to try to steer this ship solo this evening. So thanks to all the people joining us here in the Twitch chat, and I do want to thank a few people here this evening. Green Man Cartoons and Saul Greatman, both hitting their 13-month resubscription. So 13 months in a row, those gentlemen have been subscribed to our Twitch channel. So thanks to both of them for subscribing to the program and supporting what we do here. All right, couple quick housekeeping things. Last week, we did Game of the Week as Apex. We had a good time. I think we had 2 or 3 groups running in Apex Legends last week. That went out really well. Everybody seemed to have a really good time. And coming up this week is kind of an easy game, one that I don't think we've played in a while, and that is Rocket League, which I know a whole bunch of people have got. Nice kind of way to maybe relax on your Friday evening. We're going to be playing Rocket League, and that's going to be part of our Infection Game of the Week. That takes place every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern in our Discord. If you aren't in our Discord, even this week we had, I think, 1 or 2 people join that have said they've listened to the podcast for a while, but just hadn't joined our Discord. You can do so on our website, it's infectionpodcast.com. Click the big green join our Discord server button, and we'll get you into the server, and you can hang out for our Game of the Week and generally join all the other conversation that we have during the week. We'd love to have you in our Discord. And if you're a Twitch subscriber to the Twitch affiliate subscription thing, if you link your Discord and your Twitch, you get a little badge inside of our Discord server. You pop up at the top of the list. So make sure you do that if you are a subscriber here on Twitch. Excuse me. All right. So we got a lot to get into this evening. We've got some Apex Legends news and a couple of other games that have got some updates this evening. But I want to open with a topic that I kind of caught me by surprise. It's it's news around PlanetSide Arena, which is Daybreak's attempt at, in my estimation, kind of moonlighting PlanetSide 2 and getting that kind of off of people's plates and moving in a new game. So they were introducing PlanetSide Arena, which was originally supposed to come out at the end of January. This was going to be a Battle Royale style PlanetSide game. Couple of things that made it different. First of all, it wasn't free. I believe $29 was, maybe it was $19, was the base game, and $29 was the first pack that you could buy to get access to this game. And a couple days, I think it was just 5 days before their scheduled release date, they announced that they were delaying it, and they delayed it to March 26th, was the original, or was the second date that they had given. First date, January 29th. Second date, March 26th. They said, hey, we need to get some things done. But Friday, just regular, this Friday, couple days ago, as we're doing the show live on a Tuesday, just a couple days ago, Daybreak dropped a bomb online that they are delaying PlanetSide Arena. You think, oh, okay, right, we're going to go from March, maybe April or May. No. They are delaying it until the summer of 2019. So they have pushed this delay back 6 months, possibly, depending on what summer is. And what makes this interesting? First of all, I don't think the game, either way, if it came out January, March, or it comes out in the summer, I don't think the game itself is going to be a smash success. There's a lot of competition in the market, and a lot of the competition happens to be games that are free, aka Apex and Fortnite, or a game like PUBG, which millions of people already own. So there's a lot of competition in the market, Realm Royale, a whole bunch of other ones. So I don't really think it matters when they release the game in terms of the success of it. But they said in their in their post here, this is a quote from the post on their website. We believe that delivering the most polished version of PlanetSide Arena that meets these expectations on both platforms outweighs any consideration in terms of delaying the time. So they gave kind of a cookie cutter response on the release of the game. They do say they're going to continue their betas through the rest of the winter and through the spring, and they're going to keep that going. And the estimated release is summer 2019, which unfortunately is so broad. But this kind of gets back to the core of Daybreak Games, and I'm not going to spend. Unfortunately, Brian's not here this evening to jump in on the Daybreak conversation. But there's a lot of negativity when the conversation of anything Daybreak works on shows up. There's a lot of negativity, and I saw a couple of people that work there tweeting late last week and earlier this week about negativity, and just because something, just because you've identified a problem doesn't mean it's a bad thing and it's all for the best. And I get it. I get trying to put the positive spin on where this thing is going, but I hope people inside of Daybreak can understand that the reason the outside community doesn't trust them. Now, H1Z1, the PC game, is no longer owned and operated exclusively by Daybreak, but it still has this same stigma as it was a Daybreak property for 4.5 years or 4 years, whatever it was. So this negativity revolving around Daybreak and this lack of hope, I guess you'd call it, that the community has when they say we're going to introduce this or that inside of a game is clearly justified. And this is just the most recent example of it. Again, PlanetSide Arena, original release date, January 29th. 5 days before that, they say we're going to release it on March 26th. And last Friday, which was February 15th, they said it's coming out in the summer. So a very big delay. And a lot of people are speculating online and attributing this last minute change or delay due to Apex. Now this game wasn't scheduled to come out for at least another month, so it's not really certain where Apex will be in a month. I'm sure it will still be as incredibly popular, but nevertheless, that I don't know if that necessarily caused the issue. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but I'm not really sure. No matter, again, I don't think it matters when they release this game. If they released it in January, March, they released December of this year, or July or June, I don't think it matters. I think this game is going to have a very small niche player base, and that is due to the fact of it being a pay-to-play BR game. And something interesting to note about this, you can get a refund. They're allowing you to refund all PlanetSide Arena pre-orders, so even the most expensive version to the cheapest, $19 get in the game version, which a lot of people are saying may be a kind of a wink that this game may turn free to play, which I would encourage. If anybody from Daybreak cares, I would encourage making it free to play. I don't think there's a huge place for paid for BR games, and actually Brian and I talk about this a little bit later on. So we'll when we play that clip, we'll talk about that. But I would encourage, if this is the thought, a free to play Battle Royale PlanetSide game coming out in the summer. I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world. So that's an update from PlanetSide Arena this week. Delayed again, and it'll be coming out in the summer. So if you've got a pre-order and that was just too much for you, you can go ahead and request a refund on Steam if that's where you bought it. All right, let's transition here to maybe the game that caused a lot of this problem, and that would be Apex Legends, which has been out now just about 3 weeks. And we've got a couple of patches here. We've actually got their first official patch with show notes, which happened last Wednesday, so right after the program last week. So we'll cover that, and then we just had a patch, I think it was yesterday or today, their second patch. It was today. So let's cover both of these first. So this is the preseason patch number 1, and this was released on February 13th, 2019. This included a couple of their Valentine's Day things, which they did do. They added, they added a Live Die Live banner, which if you revived a squad member between the 13th and the 19th, get that limited time badge. If you played it all during that time, you probably got that. And then they added a Longbow DMR skin and a Pathfinder banner skin, both for Valentine's Day into the game. Now, here are a couple of stability and bug performance and quality of life things that they did on the 13th. I know it's a little bit out of date, but it hasn't happened, we didn't have this before last week's show. So in terms of stability, they made various improvements and tweaks to the user interface. They extended timeout that was causing players with slower hard drives to crash. They addressed a number of client and server stability issues, fixed an exploit where you could keep duplicating items in your inventory, addressed a number of stability and performance issues, as well as fixing issues where players would get a gray screen in the lobby when connecting for the first time. I actually had that. Fixed an issue where your friends list showed all of your friends as offline and unable to play. I experienced that as well. And then a shortened duration for the Bloodhound's Eye of the Allfather cones to remain in the world by 1 second. So they've made the duration of that ability they've changed that by a second. Gear-wise, they made a couple of changes. The Arc Star, which is the throwing star that explodes. It's kind of like a sticky grenade, but it's a throwing star. Displays a grenade warning indicator now if it gets thrown at you. The map, which most people, I don't even know if most people know this, it's called King's Canyon. You may have seen it, but that's the actual name of the map. They've addressed a number of bugs where people were falling through or getting stuck on the map. Excuse me. And then they updated the art for the PlayStation Plus pack and did some things with that. So that was the update last Wednesday on the 13th. Now let's transition over to today. This was a pretty big patch because it included a big issue that they were having, which was they fixed an issue where players would sometimes move slowly after getting revived. This happened to me multiple times, and it's exactly what it sounds like. If you were revived, picked up off the ground, you would run at a fifth of the speed, or walk, run, or slide, climb, anything you tried to do movement-wise was about a fifth the speed of a regular player, which you can imagine makes this game a lot harder to play when you can't get in and out of doorways or in and out of houses or in and out of cover very quickly. So they fixed that issue, which was arguably the biggest issue in the game right now. They fixed an issue with the Mirage ability causing crashes, and then fixed an issue with the Gibraltar Epic skins on the Xbox One causing crashes, as well as 2 crash issues on the PlayStation 4, which included causing GPU hangs and fixed a crash where pressing, it says pressing button early in loading process. So I guess if you're pressing a button on the PlayStation 4, it would potentially cause your game to crash. So they did all that and they fixed all that stuff. And that was out today on the 19th. So that's their second patch that they've done here for Apex Legends. Now, I'll say a couple of quick things. They have made I don't know what you'd call it, but they've said we're going to communicate. They've made some type of motion to the community that we are going to stay and have very open communication with this game, which I think everybody would agree is a good thing, but I would caution them and be careful with this. We've seen what happens when you have too open of communication, and we've seen what happens when you have too little communication. I think there's a very fine line in the middle where you've got useful communication, but you don't allow the community to necessarily know every little thing that you're working on. So the community manager over there is posting on Reddit constantly, is commenting on Reddit threads constantly. The publisher Respawn, or the developer Respawn rather, is making a real serious effort at making this a positive experience, I guess, for the hardcore enthusiasts that are playing the game here. And some other news that came out today as well with Apex is, I think we may have talked about this last week. It was a leak, but here it is. This is the exclusive skins for Twitch Prime. So if you have Twitch Prime, which most people do, you can go ahead and claim this pack, which is a purple Pathfinder skin. Pathfinder is one of the heroes or champions, whatever you want to call him in the game. He's the robot. It's a purple skin for him, and 5 of the Apex packs, which are like supply drops or crates in Overwatch, whatever you'd want to call them. So it's free of charge if you've got Twitch Prime linked with your Origin account. So if you've got that, you can go ahead and do this. You've got until April 20th to do this. Yes, April 20th. So you've got plenty of time to do this. You've got literally 2 months to go ahead and get this. And you can, if you go to Twitch and click the little crown at the top of your web page, you will see the option to redeem this. You do have to log into your Origin account through Twitch. That's kind of the only thing you may have an issue with, but that is that, and you've got till April 20th to do that. So go ahead and check that out. And then one final thing with Apex this week is cheaters. Right now, there is not a way to report people in game, but there was a thread on Reddit earlier this week where the community manager said that cheaters suck and essentially said, we need your help to do this. So what they've got is a special URL through Easy Anti-Cheat, which is their anti-cheat engine, to report a cheater. The link will be in our show notes, which is on our website, infectionpodcast.com. But you can see here, this is Easy Anti-Cheat's website, and what they want is the player ID. So you put in your account, and then you put in your information, and then you specify what the issue is. So somebody, I saw somebody aimbotting. I actually did this, not through Easy Anti-Cheat, but there was a number of people that were streaming themselves hacking in Apex on YouTube and Twitch. Their title was, this wasn't streamers trying to hide. This title was aimbot ESP in Apex, Apex. Stream 100% works, or whatever it is. They're trying to sell their cheat, their hack. So you go to these streams, and in fact, they are literally running aimbot and ESP. You can see it on their stream. So I screenshotted one of the YouTube streams and emailed it to EA's support, and they said they'd look into it. But I had this idea for EA or Respawn or whoever is handling the cheating in this game. Pay an intern. What is minimum wage? $8.75, depending on where you are. Pay an intern. minimum wage to go on YouTube and on Twitch, find these people that are streaming themselves in their title saying we are cheating, like we are running ESP, we are running aimbot, and ban them. I mean, I don't know why this is why this. I mean, seems like it's the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you can go on YouTube. I mean, there's people live right now. I just searched it while we're on air. I'm not going to show any of their videos, but I mean, I'm watching a guy literally cheating with ESP right now. I can see all of the people around on his screen. They're all little boxes. Why is Respawn not paying an intern to just go and browse YouTube and Twitch, find these people that are admitting they're cheating, get their player ID, their name, and ban them? I would I can't really understand why there's such a problem here with this. Now, they did say that they're planning on adding a report feature into the game, but they haven't done so yet. So the best thing you can do right now is get the player's username and go to the link that Respawn wants you to use, which is on the Easy Anti-Cheat website, and submit a report. That's about the best thing you can do right now. And they want you to go ahead and do that. So that is, I believe that's all of the news I've got on Apex for this week. So again, Apex Legends, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's a free battle royale game. Really been enjoying it, playing a lot over the past week. So go check that out, Apex Legends. Let's see here. This was kind of a surprise this week. This is a game that we've talked about on this program numerous times, and that is Dead by Daylight. The some people call it the generator simulator game, and it's a game where you've got you're playing with 3 other survivors, 4 of you total, and there's a single killer that is walking around the map. The goal is to complete a number of generators, or find an escape hatch to escape from the killer. They actually were part of the Nintendo Direct that Nintendo did this past week, and announced that Dead by Daylight is coming to the Nintendo Switch, which kind of caught me by surprise. There's a little trailer here. This is what they aired during the Nintendo Direct. So this is what they showed on screen. The Nintendo Direct is like Nintendo's E3. They do them like every couple months when they've got new stuff to talk about. So, yeah, here's the quick trailer for Dead by Daylight on the Nintendo Switch.
Prepare to kill, survive, or die in Dead by Daylight. Imagine this. You're alone, struck by fear, struggling to survive. And then you meet another survivor. But it's too late. The killer is upon you. Now run. Hide. Scavenge for items. Open the gates and escape with your life. Or take on the role of the killer to make the so-called survivors your next victims. Terrifying? Oh yes. Satisfying? Just you wait. With loads of maps, characters, and cosmetics to earn, you'll experience a deep progression system while you're on the hunt or being hunted. Discover the true meaning of horror when Dead by Daylight creeps up on Nintendo Switch this fall.
So there it is. Available fall of 2019 is going to be Dead by Daylight on the Nintendo Switch. This is an interesting move by Dead by Daylight. I'm not sure. This game requires, first of all, it requires using sound. So you're going to have to be probably wearing headphones. I don't see how you could play this game with speakers. So you're probably going to need to be in a semi-quiet space with headphones, because sound cues and audible things in game are pivotal to playing. You really cannot play this game with no sound. You can, but you lose a lot of the advantages of the game notifying you that things are or might be happening. So that I'm not really sure about, but nevertheless, this will be an interesting move to see how some of these other survival games that aren't BRs try to transition into more of maybe a mobile market onto the Switch, onto iPhone and Android's kind of out of the picture, but how can these games make it on a mobile platform? I've been playing the Nintendo Switch this week. I've been playing, actually, I don't think we talked about this. Tetris announced a BR game, Tetris 99. And it's Tetris, but there's 98 other players in your game. And you clear lines and it attacks other people's boards and it builds things up. It's a little complicated. We don't have enough time to get into it this week, but I've been playing this Tetris 99 on the Switch, and I've had Firebomb ask me in Discord what I thought about the Switch. Donnie in chat is saying I've seriously been considering getting a Switch. The Nintendo is known for having their games, their first party games, Mario, Zelda, Smash, Metroid rather, Kirby, they're known for Pokemon. They're known for those games. And that's why you buy a Nintendo Switch. That's why you bought a Wii U, was to play those first party games. There's very few multiple platform games that do well on Nintendo consoles. Fortnite is on the Switch and apparently does pretty well. Stardew Valley, which is not really survival, but Minecraft-y kind of game, is on the Switch. That does very well. But I don't believe I've seen a game like Dead by Daylight, which is already available on on the PC and other platforms, aka PlayStation and Xbox. I've never seen a game like that really do anything on the Switch. I'm sure there is a game. Maybe there's an example that somebody's thinking of. But the Switch, you buy the Switch to play Nintendo's properties. And I'm not sure how Dead by Daylight is going to fare. I'm excited to try this. I'm going to try to get a couple of keys for this. Maybe we can give away a key or two on the show, or talk to somebody from the Dead by Daylight team, because I'm genuinely curious what the thought is. This is a game that requires a level of seriousness to play, and I don't know how that is going to work on a mobile platform. But nevertheless, Dead by Daylight, it's available fall of 2019. It's probably going to be around the same time that they introduce dedicated servers, which is why they can come to the Nintendo Switch with dedicated servers. So kind of a bombshell this week from the Dead by Daylight people. Hadn't really heard anything about this beforehand. So that is Dead by Daylight on the Nintendo Switch. Something very very weird here is a screenshot from Keemstar, Drama Alert on YouTube. He tweeted this out yesterday, and the caption was, "Survival game, been working on it 3 weeks." And this was the picture that he released with this. So it appears that Killer Keemstar is working on a survival game. Now, he's hired people to make this, but it does appear that he is working on something like this. Other detail wise, there's not. The only thing of note from this screenshot really is that it is running on Unity, which survival games on Unity typically, they don't have a great track record. Unreal seems to be the way to go. Excuse me, not Unreal. The Unreal Engine seems to be the way to go with survival games. But I guess time will tell. So I just thought it was interesting and actual survival news. So we've got something here from Keemstar, a survival game that has been being worked on for 3 whole weeks. Of course, there's a possibility that nothing ever comes of this, but it is possible that they do something with that. All right, well, we've got a couple minutes here before excuse me, before we have to go to our other segment here, but we do have some Atlas news. So if you're an Atlas fan, we've got some news to cover for you here. They've done a lot of patches since last week. I believe the last update we talked about was 18.74. So since last week, we've had 18.76, which fixed a bug with Fire AoE would not properly attach to moving boots. So if the fire effect wasn't properly attaching. And then we had a big update, which was 18.84. A couple of things here in terms of weight. Gold coins have had their weight reduced by 50%. The weight of all items have been reduced by 30% globally. They do note that this doesn't apply to structures that are placed on boats. This is only items in inventories. The weight sale, which is a sale that gives you additional weight, now provides 20% more bonus weight on your ship. The diving suit now provides a buff when you give, which gives players a 50% extra base weight when diving underwater. So you get a lot more weight when you're diving. The water barrel now has a base weight of 75, and it can hold 6,000 water. It previously could only hold 500. For every 1,000 water you add to that, it will add 20 weight, meaning that at the lightest, the water barrel is 75, and at the maximum weight, it's 195 if you've got 6,000 water in it. So they've done that for the weight. Players now start the game with 30% more personal weight and will gain an additional 40% per level. So the base weight has been increased from 250 to 320, and the bonus per level is up from 10 to 14. So you've got 4 more on that. There clearly was a weight issue in the game. Now, I will be the first to admit I have not played Atlas recently. So if there is a big weight issue, I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. So that's where we are with Atlas. And then tamed creatures now gain an additional 6% weight per level into weight rather than 4%. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff here. Creatures and tames, elephants and rhinos now provide 25% weight reduction to their specialized resource. Drafts now receive an approximately 2x bonus when harvesting thatch and has 25% weight reduction when carrying thatch. If you're really into Atlas, you can go through all this stuff. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. A couple of quality of life things, QOL things, is that old age no longer has a debuff, which I guess was screwing up a lot of people. The Fountain of Youth is now available on all Golden Age Ruin servers. Players can now purchase a respec soup at the commodity trader in free ports. Respec soup allows you to change where you put your skill tree, essentially. So you can respec and you can buy a soup to do that. And then players now have approximately 20% more skill points per level. And then finally, a couple of bug fixes here. Fixed a bug where quality specific equipment would display a percentage stat increase and a flat stat increase, but only one would work. Going forward, the flat stat increase will be made obsolete and the items will no longer be generated with it. Quality stated items will now only guarantee with the stat bonus, and this change will be retroactive. So they've changed quality and how that works with stats. And they fixed a bug where items would falsely state that they were providing a speed benefit that they did not. So those shouldn't happen anymore. And then mortars will no longer be able to shoot at players outside of the render distance. So that was their big update, which was 18.84. 2 more quick ones, 18.87, optimized performance of various server subsystems. And then 18.89, fixed an issue with the unstasis / render distance on ships and optimized performance of various server subsystems. So a couple of, a big patch and then a couple of performance patches from the folks over at Atlas. They were up and they were pretty busy this week, and that's where we are. That's the latest that we've got on Atlas, and they're working on a whole bunch of other cool things that we'll be able to get to here over the next couple of weeks. All right, this is kind of off topic, but our friend PHVCK posted this in our Discord today, and this is coming from Jason Schreier at Kotaku. Google is hosting what is rumored to be a gaming keynote March 19th. This is a month from now, and it will take place at 10 a.m. in San Francisco. And the thought here is that this is going to be Google's cloud gaming platform. I've done some testing with their cloud platform. They were offering a free copy of one of the Assassin's Creed games to test their cloud gaming platform, but they didn't really promote it or publicize it at all. So there's a lot of thoughts here that that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be releasing a some type of cloud streaming, cloud play platform, and they'll be doing that a month from now. So that will be coming up on March 19th, the Google gaming event. And then let's see, real quickly here, we've got Arc. They had just one quick update this week. This was on February 15th. They fixed unharvestable trikes and then disabled follow-on creatures when released from the crypod, which is the crypod is it's a storage system that's in the game. So they've changed how the follow works when creatures are following you on that. All right. Outside of that, we've got one more topic here, or one more update rather, before we switch into our segment on some Battle Royale games. So finally here, excuse me, is Conan Exiles, and there's been a delay in their most recent PC patch. They tweeted out today, a little bit earlier this morning, that they've had to move. We've had to move our upcoming PC patch. We want to fix some final hiccups, as we are not comfortable releasing this patch without addressing them. We understand the wait is frustrating, but we wanted to keep you informed about what's happening. So they went through and released a post to their forum, just saying, "Hey, we're delaying this, and they're hoping to have this finished over the next couple of weeks." So they've gone ahead and announced a delay for this for their PC and console services. They've delayed the final patch, or they've delayed a patch on that. So they're saying it's going to be ready soon. And yeah, that's what we've got from Conan Exiles. All right, well, without further ado, as you can hear, my voice is kind of shot at this point anyway, so I'm glad we went ahead and did this. Brian and I sat down last week and had a conversation about some Battle Royale games and who is currently playing them, where their market space is, and it was overall kind of a good conversation. But before we do that, I do want to thank our friend Tag Durante for his resubscription here on Twitch. For his he has resubscribed here for 7 whole months. Thank you very much, Tag. We appreciate that. So without further ado, here is a conversation that Brian and I had last week about some Battle Royale games, and it's about an hour or so long. I think it's a good conversation, and if you want to interact with this, you can go ahead and you can send us a tweet at InfectionCast. You can send us an email, or if you're watching here live on Twitch, you can go ahead and interact that way. So we'll do this, and we're gonna do a game giveaway here before Almost forgot about that. See, I got all this stuff going on. We've got a copy of Rise, Son of Rome, which we're going to be giving away here. So this is available for Steam. It's got very positive reviews as of recent. This was actually the Xbox One launch title, and it got a lot of flack for being an Xbox One launch title. But overall, it's a very good game. You can enter !giveaway in the chat, and you can go ahead and enter for that. All right, Brian. So there's all these VR games that are out here, right? We've been talking about Apex Legends with the past 3 weeks now since that came out. There's PUBG, there's Fortnite, there's literally hundreds of VR games that are out now. We're in February of 2019 at this point in time, and specifically with Apex Legends, I think it's a very interesting conversation because of how similar it is to Battlegrounds. Now, I think you've played a lot more Battlegrounds. Not Battlegrounds, a lot more Blackout than I have. Call of Duty's attempt at, and if you remember, before it came out, Call of Duty, I don't remember what their promo material was, but it was something to the effect of we're Battle Royale from a AAA company or something like that. They made it in the marketing campaign was, we're Activision, we're Call of Duty, we are not going to just be some fly-by-night Battle Royale game. We are going to be a AAA experience.
Well, and I don't know how they can really kind of pull that with Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite, maybe Epic didn't start out as a AAA company, but I think that just because they haven't released tons of major titles, they have one of the biggest, and probably money-wise, they're competing against everyone else. Obviously, doing better than some of these other companies. We might talk about that in a bit. But I think for them, they mostly were calling out PUBG.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you look at PUBG, all of that hype was there, all that promise was there. We were coming out of the H1Z1 phase, and people were just looking for a battle royale that worked, that didn't have as many hackers, that wasn't the same. And well, I've talked about the engine forever. It wasn't an old engine, and PUBG came out and it had all the promise. We looked at it and said, man, this is like DayZ. I mean, people weren't getting DayZ that they wanted.
Yep.
People just weren't getting the experience from other games. PUBG came out, and I think that PUBG is not quite, it hasn't kept up the level of pace that people are wanting. I think people, just like with H1Z1, you figured, all right, here's the start. It's going to transition to become this beautiful game that they put in their minds. But I think that you could say PUBG has done well, but I don't think it's anywhere near what Epic has been able to do with Fortnite at this point. So I think if anything, Blackout could say that they are on the level of Fortnite. Not that they're going to say that in their marketing materials, but I would say that they're pretty even as far as delivering a solid game. Now this Apex Legends comes out, and I think that it's something that has, from what I can tell, I mean, we'll talk about the numbers and things a little bit, but they are really competing with these other companies. I think this is another game that you can play, and it just feels solid. It feels polished. I mean, kind of what we said about Realm Royale originally. Remember, we just said it feels polished, like it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they're testing on us, which is a new thing.
I don't have a direct quote because it's an audio trailer for Blackout, but I was just able to scrub through it and listen to it a little bit here. And they said something to there's a narrator talking over it. I'm sure everybody remembers the trailer. They did it in kind of like a blue and orange kind of thermal sight almost view. And they talked about how Battle Royale games need to be unique. And the line was something that only Blackout or Black Ops can provide. That this whole unique experience. And honestly, at the time when this was published on IGN back in May of 2018. So I mean, you're going back like what, 9 months since this was originally leaked. And at that time, PUBG was, I mean, Blackout really isn't that much like Fortnite. It's a battle royale game, of course, but
don't you think it's a polished version of PUBG though?
Blackout?
Yeah, I mean, don't you think it's a not? I guess maybe not polished, but it's almost like PUBG.
I know,
but probably with a little bit more predictable mechanics.
I know, that's the thing. I don't know what word to describe it. It in a lot of ways it's better than PUBG, but I think PUBG in a lot of ways is better than Blackout is. But when this trailer came out, I mean, there was this hype, and we were part of that hype based on the trailer. Was this is interesting because now we've got Blizzard Activision. Maybe.
Well, this is pretty much the first AAA company to step into the arena, right?
Well, I mean, how big? Is Blizzard Activision probably one of the top 3, if not the top game publishing development houses in the world? I mean, Tencent, and then you've got Bethesda. But I mean, this is probably the biggest or second biggest company in the world, and they're saying, "Hey, we are going to make a survival battle experience that is that only we at Black Ops can provide." And that's hype. That's, oh wow, this is gonna kind of be the showstopper. And it came out, and for I don't know why it was,
weeks.
But
people played for what, 3-4 weeks?
Maybe 3 weeks would be generous. I just couldn't get into it. I was never able to grab any, and I'm not the best player. I'm actually probably very below average in terms of my play style, in terms of my skill, but I can get into some of these other games. I can play Realm Royale. I can play Fortnite. I can even play PUBG. I'm not great at PUBG, but I can at least attempt. If I'm running with a good squad, I can be competitive in a PUBG match. No matter who I played Blackout with, I played it with you plenty of times. I played it with our friend UGX Vibe, who is incredibly good at these Battle Royale games. And we could just never make it happen. You're just constantly getting... It just wasn't a good experience. And on top of that, it was $59.99 on launch, $63 or something with tax when you purchased it.
Yeah,
which didn't help. I only played it with probably 3 or 4 people total from our community. I don't even know if that many people have it. I know you've got it. I know UGX Vibe has it. Off the top of my head, I don't remember who else owns it.
Well, and personally, I kind of enjoyed. Now, I enjoyed the regular multiplayer, but it's still that is almost. I mean, it's a clone of all the other ones. I mean, the thing is they've been rehashing the same multiplayer here for a while. There's a few different mechanics, but that definitely doesn't make it stand out. I think if someone has some of the other ones that they've released in the past, that this would be. You wouldn't get that for that alone. I think they had to kind of bundle it, but I don't think the BR of it stands out enough to be the reason. If you really knew that much about it, like us going into it, we didn't know about it.
No.
It was fresh. It was new. We wanted to see what it was about. But I think if somebody now seeing, here's the BR, but then look at this competition that we have in the current day, I don't know that there really would be a reason to go out and get Blackout. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. When you have something like Apex Legends, which I think personally, I mean, I don't know, you've played it quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
recently.
I've been all over.
And you'd have to say that it is a better feeling experience than Blackout was its first week.
I would say, if I can imagine inside of Activision right now, they are pissed about what Apex Legends has done. We talked about the numbers last week. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but it was something like 25 million players in the first 5 or 6 days, and at their peak concurrent players, which I've never seen peak concurrent players from Fortnite before. They talk about players signed in over a period of time, but they said at their peak concurrent players, this was last week. They said their peak concurrent players was 2 million concurrent players, which is PUBG. I mean, PUBG for a long period of time, their 24 PUBG. Yeah, at their 24-hour peak was upwards of 2 million concurrent players for a long period of time. Even now, the 7-day peak in PUBG is still upwards of 1.6, 1.5 million.
Now, isn't it?
Excuse me. No, I'm sorry. It's down to like 900,000.
I think it's around. It's just short of 1 million right now. I think it's cut down. I mean, there's a lot of games coming out.
It is. It's about it's right. It's about 950,000. But not long ago, probably November or October, it was hovering every week 1.5, 1.6, 1.7.
Over a million. And I remember you pointing out right when it went down to below 1 million for the first time.
I remember the time because
on the player count.
Because I think it did hit 2 million.
Something's happening.
But I mean, this Apex Legends has done what Activision tried to do with Blackout and Call of Duty. I don't even remember what is the name of the game? It's Black Ops 5, I think, is the actual name of the Call of Duty. Yeah, it is. It's Black Ops 5, I think, is the base game for it.
Yeah, I don't even know.
But we've got a whole list here of all these BR games. So let's start from most popular on the top of our list and kind of work our way down, and we'll look at popularity. Of course, the undefeated king of this all is Fortnite. Now, we don't know the numbers, but I think it's safe to say, based on its views on Twitch, the amount of hype around the game, the fact that you can play it on, at this point, iOS, Android, Switch, PC, PS4, and Xbox. That's 6
and all the
devices.
Middle schoolers know every single dance for it. I mean, there's there's a lot of, and they wouldn't, as you said, they don't give numbers, but there's a lot of people playing it, because that's the only game that I've played that I can just kids that don't play computers and don't do any of that stuff.
No Fortnite.
Like, they know Fortnite, and that's the only computer game. I couldn't talk to these kids about any other game. Just Fortnite. That's all they know.
Brian's hanging outside of the local elementary school, chatting up the kids about Fortnite. I got some V-Bucks over here. I
help teach kids, so this is how I know this. It's not that I go and hang out with them as a creepy old man.
Hey kids, got your V-Bucks over here, V-Bucks over there. Dishing out V-Bucks to all the kids.
Hey, there's some V-Bucks in that van.
So I think it is the undisputed champion right now is Fortnite, right? That's at the top of the list.
Up to this point, from what we can tell.
And I'm not going to put Apex on this list because it's too early to see what the actual numbers are going to settle down with. But it's right now.
We could see in weeks that it could drop. I mean, it's hard to say. Are they going to keep it stable?
Yep.
Hacks going to become prevalent in it? Because that's the thing. Always the first week or two, we're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
This is perfect. This is exactly what we want.
What was the game? Radical Heights. We're like, this game is awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah. And then they shut down and they're no more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the issue, is give it a little bit of time, see if major hacks come out for it, see if whatever happens. I mean, we've said this over and over and over again. If a company can keep on top of the hackers to where you don't even notice, similar to a manner of what they've done with Fortnite. You don't come out of Fortnite after you played it thinking, man, every other game I ran into a hacker. And I can honestly say that there are games that we have every other game ran into a hacker in some of these other ones. So I think if they can keep it to that point to where you can play the game and feel like you had a number of honest games in a row, maybe once in a night you ran into someone you suspect might be a hacker, I think then any game that does that, I think, will do well. I think most of the games that we've run into have been defeated by hackers first. Less of what they've actually done with the game.
I would agree with that. So just looking at the list here, we're not going to rank these all in terms of popularity, but I would just say, looking at this list here, about the top 5 or 6, it's definitely Fortnite, which as of course everybody knows is a free-to-play game. I think it's safe to say in second place is PUBG, which right now is MSRP $30, but I think we bought it at $15 or $20 when it first launched or came out. So, we spent probably $20 on that. That's in second. ROE, I think, has probably got the third in terms of player base and kind of hype. So we'll throw that in there. That game is free. Blackout, I think, still has a pretty decent group of people that play it. It is still fairly popular on YouTube and Twitch. But again, it's so hard to see without player numbers. So I'd probably put them at fourth and maybe even tie them with a game like Realm Royale. That's got, it's got a couple of thousand people concurrently playing at any given time of the day. And then H1Z1, as we see, hovers around 13, 15, 1,700 players, which is
Isn't that a drastic drop from, I mean, it's amazing how the BRs, there's like a top 4.
Yeah. Top 2, really. Top 3 if you had Apex Legends right now. It's really Fortnite, PUBG, and Apex Legends. And then it's
and
every
ROE
other game.
may be doing pretty well. It's hard to say with ROE. I don't know. I don't know what, I haven't heard any kind of hint of what their numbers are.
Oh, let's take a look.
And we could look on Steam. I don't think they have any kind of a unique launcher or anything. But you look at those numbers,
6,000
and then
players currently. The 24 peak's 21,000, and their
See,
1
but
week.
that's not huge.
Another 1 week peak is about 30,000 players. So, no, you're
I mean,
right.
if you compare that to Fortnite, you compare that to PUBG, maybe what Blackout. I don't know.
I don't know.
If Blackout has
No
those numbers,
idea.
but if you look at Fortnite, PUBG, and right now Apex, they go. They're probably in the hundreds and whatever, how many hundreds of thousands to
Concurrent,
millions.
yeah.
And then you drop down, and then it goes down to thousands. I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing the gap that there is with this. People are playing one game, and they switch to that game.
Well,
You would think that there would be a kind of a player base that would stick with these games. H1Z1 did. There's a player base that played with them for a long time.
well, and they do still
even
have that
ROE.
player base. I mean, we'll do numbers.
How many
here.
did they need to survive though? Like that's the issue.
How many just survive? I'm not sure, but right now there's like 700 people playing the game. Their week long peak, which is really the number you say. Okay, in a week's period, there's less than 2,000 people playing it. Now, to be fair, over the past 7 days, a brand new BR game has hit the market. As we're doing this, a brand new BR game has hit the market. So all of these numbers for these games are all going to be very weird for the next, call it 2 to 4 weeks, because it will level out. Everybody's playing Apex right now because everybody wants the upper hand and everybody's friends are playing it. But give it, middle of March, end of March, maybe early April. It's going to level off. People are going to go back to the games that I see all the big Fortnite.
But how many people are not going to come back to H1Z1? That's
well,
the
no,
thing.
I'm not talking about H1Z1.
Yeah, some games like that, I think people will come back to Fortnite.
Absolutely.
But I think some of these smaller ones that maybe people were just playing for a bit, like once your friends leave it, and then a number of your friends don't come back, it's like, I guess I won't play that anymore, and you move on. I think each time a big title like this comes out, something that's like, oh, this is an awesome BR. I think it's just chipping away at those numbers.
So it's I mean, it's tough to try to, talk about all this stuff, because as you're saying, there really is just, there's no way to tell with a lot of these games. So Fortnite, PUBG, ROE, Blackout, and Realm Royale are probably similar if I had to guess. I don't really know what Blackout's numbers are. And I know Realm Royale at any given point in time has got a couple of thousand people playing it. Maybe Blackout's higher that.
But it also has console players, which, we don't know what those are. I mean, I'm sure we know that the Apex is giving you numbers with consoles, because then they launch simultaneously, all three.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a huge portion of those players are all on console.
Yeah. And Realm's week high is about 10,000 players. So I would assume Blackout's probably a little bit higher than them in terms of players, because I think there's a lot more copies of Blackout, even though Realm Royale is free. And then H1Z1's got, as we just said, peaking at about 2,000 players. But then we go down from this, Brian. So let's look at the price points here. Fortnite is free. PUBG is $29.99. ROE is free. Blackout is $60. Realm Royale is free. H1Z1 is free. Now, these next sets of games we're going to talk about are not in any specific order. They're just on this list. Dying Light Bad Blood. This is a game we saw at...
So we did an interview.
We did an interview. Saw it at PAX West. Can you guess what their max concurrent players were over the past week?
I would probably say it's under 100.
40.
40.
Over the past week, which is enough to fill. I think these games are relatively small. It's like 10 people or 8 people or something like that. But 40 max players over the past week. Now, I think Dying Light Bad Blood screwed themselves by charging for the game $20, which, again, let's look at the top 4. If we look at the top 4 games, throw Apex Legends in the top 4. 3 of the 4 are free. PUBG is but PUBG came out at a time when it was H1Z1 or PUBG. Like, which one of the BR games do you want to play? And they were both pay for, right? H1Z1 was $20 on launch. PUBG was $20 right when you bought it right out of the gate. So at that point in time, that's why you see PUBG's got so many owners, because it was just a custom that everybody buys. You want to play a BR game, you're buying PUBG at the time. So, top 3 of the top 4 are all free to play. Dying Light says, hey, we're going to make a battle royale game. It was actually a lot of fun. I know you died out of the zone both times when you played at PAX, but the game itself was fun. It moved well. It had a crazy parkour system, which was cool. You could hop and jump. By the way, Apex has got a really cool, kind of parkour system in itself. But it's $20, which I think box a lot. I mean, look at this. Look at all these. How many of these games do you own, Brian? I mean, I own 3/4 of the games on this list. Do I really want to spend $20 for another VR experience?
I think I have. Well, I didn't get Rapture Rejects. It was in the Humble Bundle, but I just didn't get it. Fear the Wolf. Oh well, I don't want to go over all the ones we haven't got, but there's some of them that I haven't gotten, but all the ones that I haven't gotten are just because they are pay. I mean, some of these games, Dying Light, as you said, a perfect example. You go through there, and if it were free to play, I think they would have a lot more players because it's not like it's a broken game.
No,
the graphics are good, but when you have all these other options, you're just like, I'm not going to pay $20 for that. I'm going to go do something else. They would make a lot more by offering some sort of a not crates or a season pass or anything. I mean, bundle it in with your regular Dying Light game to get people playing it, and then offer some sort of a reward, a season pass system, just so people will consider it. But I think at 40 players, they're going to have to shut it down at some point, and it's been like that, I think, since a little bit after PAX. It's never had high numbers.
Their high peak or all-time peak when it came out 5 months ago in September, came out the weekend of PAX, was 454 players.
Yeah.
According to Steam Spy, which we know is not super accurate, there's between 20 and 50,000 copies out there in the wild. So before we get into the rest of these games, Brian, the big question I have for you and for our community, and just think about this as, if you're driving along and listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube or whatever, to make and have a successful battle royale game in 2019 and 2020 and 2021, because these games are still going to exist, does it need to be free?
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole spark behind this conversation that you and I are having right now is, with the amount of competition in the marketplace, with the and frankly, you really can't. I mean, yes, you can add variants to the games. Realm Royale's got its variants with the horse mechanic that's in the game and the classes and whatnot. Apex has got its things that make it different. Fortnite's got that crazy building system. There are variants that you can put in there, but at the core of all of these games, Darwin Project, same thing. But at the core, what is it? It's a circle. The environment is pushing you into a smaller and smaller area and encouraging you and forcing you to PvP with other players. That's the core of the game. All of these games have got that. It's pretty much in common.
Yep.
So does it have to be free to be successful?
Well, I mean, Matt, let's take Apex, for example. If they would have released and they would have said, first of all, that there was no marketing for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
non-existent.
It just came out, hey, I heard like 2 days before a game's going to come out.
And that's because streamers were kind of like leaking it, sort of.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's out. If that game would have come out and said, first of all, let's look at AAA, it's from a AAA company. If they would have said $59.99, I think it would be very much like Blackout as far as player numbers right now. I think it would be talked about as much as Blackout, and it would probably have the trajectory of Blackout to where people play it for a bit and then it drops down. I think because it's free to play, that it'll have a much longer trajectory. You'll have people continuing. When people go and tell their friends about this, they go and say, hey, I was talking to somebody at hockey yesterday about this.
Really?
On the bench. Yeah, because I talked about games that I play, and another guy talks about games that he plays on console.
Do you tell me to do a podcast?
No, I don't think so.
wait, you do know if you do or don't. Tell me the truth.
I don't remember if I told him I did a podcast. I don't think I've said I've done a podcast.
You don't slip him like one of our keychains and go, hey, check us out. Kind of a big deal. No?
Well, I think he's trying to be friendly because he's on my line. He was on my line that game, and so he's sitting next to me on the bench, and so we're sitting next to each other the whole time. So he's leans over and he starts telling me about, some game that he's playing lately. And I was like, "Oh, have you played Apex?" And he's like, "No, I'll check it out." And
Oh,
it's
excellent.
like, so that's the thing is I could say with that, go check it out. It's free.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you know what? He'll probably go and go check it out. But if it were something like Blackout, oh, it's $60. You know what? He's no chance he's going to go home and buy that because it's not exactly in his wheelhouse. He's not going to try it. Actually, I think he actually did try it. Maybe he brought it. He might have said, I don't remember. He may have said he played. But the thing is because it's free, I can mention it to people, and you know what? They'll probably go and they'll boot up their console, since that's generally what these people play, and they'll download it. And if they don't like it, if it's not their kind of game, maybe they won't play it anymore. But any of the other titles, anytime there's a paid game, I don't expect anyone to ever go and install it based on me saying, "Hey, I'm playing this right now."
So I agree and hold a lot of the same opinions on that whole argument that you do. But we've got to look at some of the numbers here, and we look at, there are a number of free-to-play VR games that have been free-to-play since launch that for whatever reason cannot make it happen. And one of the games is a game that we've talked about extensively. We were I think the first people to see this game at PAX East in 2017, and that's Darwin Project. This game from the get-go was a free-to-play kind of mix between Battle Royale and Hunger Games, which was popularized by the books and then the movies back in 2012, 2014, whenever those came out. It's kind of a hybrid between that and this game. Looking at its numbers now, is struggling to break a 400 player concurrent peak. I mean, as of right now, there are 52 people playing. So this game is free, and it's a good game. It's very polished,
very beautiful graphics. It works very well. It's got unique mechanics that other ones don't have.
A lot of unique mechanics. Maybe too many unique mechanics. Maybe that's the issue with it. It's that it's unsimilar.
Maybe that's the thing, is when people go into it, they don't feel it doesn't feel natural, because there's so many different mechanics that the world changes all the time. You have to learn and do these different things. It's not like Fortnite, to where you can jump into, PUBG versus Fortnite versus ROE, almost identical. Other than Fortnite in the building. Fortnite in the building is something that they did incredibly unique.
But you don't have to build.
But you don't have to. So you can play it like the other ones. With the Darwin Project, it doesn't have that similar, all right, I just run to this point, I loot and do this stuff. Like it's actually, I think it's more unique, and I would prefer it if more people are playing it, because it seems like you can have a back and forth. Like you'll fight with somebody and you can kind of run away, and then you can come back to the fight. Like these other games, that doesn't happen. Like there's not as much back and forth, because they have methods in Darwin where you can disappear and you can do these things to kind of get out of the fight. And I don't know. It's very unique, and that's why I'm always surprised not more people are playing it. But maybe it's too close to Fortnite in far as graphics too. I mean, it's hard to say. It has the visuals of Fortnite, which isn't a bad thing, but it is a very unique game overall when you go in and try to play it.
So that's Darwin Project. And now here's another one, Brian, I'll throw at you. Now, this game's got, and by the way, Darwin Project has got an 81% positive review on Steam. So
people that are playing it tend to like it.
Yeah, 80% is a great review ratio on Steam.
Yep.
Now, here's a game that's got a little bit of a mixed past, and that's the Culling Origins, which is struggling to break 100 concurrent players on a weekend, which is when these games hit their peak. And this is another game that is free to play. Now, it's got a shaky, past, and the Culling 2 was a total flop, and so there is that going for it, but this is another free to play battle royale game. This one is smaller. It's only 16 players, and there's a time limit. I from what I remember, But
Yeah, it
why
was.
doesn't this succeed?
I mean, I remember. I remember when I came in after having played this game, and I think they have fixed some of these issues since. But I remember the weekend that I played it, the melee was so broken, and I just came to the podcast saying, you know what, like the melee is so broken, and there's just was so many broken things that for me that kind of ruined the experience. I just had no. It visually, it's an okay game. But I would have to say that as far as the uniqueness, I mean, 'cause they tried to kind of do unique story and, being you're a prisoner and all this. But I think that if I were to compare the Culling and the Darwin Project, I think the Darwin Project is more unique as far as story. I don't think they did a good enough job of telling whatever story they were trying to tell in the Culling, and then the mechanics just weren't polished enough. Like it never made sense. Like I'd run around and it just didn't things didn't click. Like you're running around and doing these things, but it was never like, I feel like there's a goal. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this. At least with a zone closing, your goal is to keep inside the zone and get there maybe before the smoke gets too close. I never felt like I knew the purpose of the culling. You're running around as picking up stuff and it was a mess. Like for me, I just never felt smooth. It always felt just too disorganized and it just frustrated me. So maybe that, I don't know if other people experience that when they play, but that was my feeling.
I enjoy, from a consumer aspect, I really enjoy the free-to-play mechanic, of course. It allows me to try the game, and not more than try, but try the game, and if I like it, play it. And if I don't like it, I'm not out any significant investment besides my time. But I do fear, Brian, and I haven't really articulated. I don't really have a way to articulate this. This is something this kind of been floating around in my head now for a while. Is I do fear though that we are getting too comfortable with this free to play element, and that good games are going to cease to. Oh God, who were we talking about a couple weeks ago? The developer for the who the hell just moved their game to Epic, and people wanted to boycott them.
So that was Metro.
Now, I'm just using this to say the point. That developer said something very simple in his thing. If you boycott and don't buy the game, we just won't release it on the platform anymore. And I'm just bringing that up to say that I'm concerned that moving forward, this paid games are now discriminated against in the respect of, unless it's a Rockstar or a big Activision Blizzard or a Bungie or an EA or a Ubisoft or whatever it may be, unless it's one of those big guys with top 5 or 6 developers, can you even release a paid any game in 2019 and attract a substantial player base? We spent many weeks talking about the Remnants Kickstarter, total abysmal failure. Why? Some could argue it was because of their promotion and the game really wasn't all that unique. But I honestly think, Brian, there's a lot of people that say, why? I don't need another game. I'm not going to pay to play another game when I've got a whole Steam library full of games I don't have time to play now. I mean, I'm
free ones from AAA companies.
I'm 30% of the way through the Red Dead Redemption campaign. I want to finish that, but guess what I've been doing the past 2 weeks? I've been playing Apex Legends every waking moment when I'm not at work.
Yeah.
So, can you? I mean, I'm not even know if I'm asking you the question, but can a developer, any developer, release a paid-for game in 2019 and have any sort of success? I don't even know.
I think the other danger, though, I mean, when you're not doing a paid, is these. I mean, look at how many games we have on this list that are struggling to fill servers. We have so many games coming out. I remember when we had a drought of games for a while. New games were not coming out. There was the downturn and just new stuff was not happening. And now we have so many games coming out. What happens to these games? I mean, we could look at some of these games, the culling. At what point are they just going to stop hosting servers? H1Z1, there's going to be a point where they're going to say, all right, we're close. I mean, honestly, I feel like there's going to be a point where they say we're going to close down the game because if it's not going to return their investment, it will only go so far. I mean, you look at half of these games. At what point is nobody going to be playing it, and they're just going to be like, "Oh, we're shutting it down"? I mean, that's the danger when you have so many games coming out so rapidly. People just move on and they play those top 4 games. I mean, who's going to keep a thing up for 40 players? I mean, at what point is Dying Light, Bad Blood just going to say, you know what, we're done?
And there's a couple of games that we've excluded from this list because there's just been no talk about them. But there's, let's call it 20 or so VR games that are out right now, and then a couple of more that are on the way that we'll talk about here in a little while. 20 games not in gaming. We're talking about 20 games in this niche,
in this specific genre,
in this super niche subset of people that play battle royale games. And it's a large group in terms of what Fortnite has been able to pull in. But this is a small group, ladies and gentlemen. I know the joke is, oh, it's Infection, the BR podcast. But this is I think we've seen a lack of survival games because of this. H1Z1 chose this format over their survival game. We enjoyed their survival game much more, but guess where the money was?
There's no way. There's not a great way for them to make a consistent recurring income off of a survival game. There's just the way that the people play skins. People will get one. Here's what happened in Just Survive. Here's what happens in survival games. People want one outfit. They don't need constant outfits changing. They want to get something that makes them blend in with the background because of the game style, and then they don't buy the crates anymore. If a company goes beyond and tries to make more and more money off of other things, people then complain that they're trying to squeeze money out of every little area. So there's not really a way for them to make a profit off of that style of a game other than just selling it. And when you have, as you said, all these free-to-play games coming out, you got to be nervous coming out and try to release a game right now that is not a BR, because the only ones making a ton of money other than major franchises that are releasing things, maybe that are series of games are the BR games. That is the money maker in the industry right now. And people are willing to put money out for these style of games. I mean, one of the exceptions would be Rocket League. I mean, that's a unique game that has a season pass, but how many other games have season passes that are significant that aren't a BR style that you can think of?
And Rocket League's very popular. I mean, there's looks like their week peak on Steam on Steam is almost, upwards of 60,000 concurrent players.
Yeah.
Which is,
and I'd say that their biggest audience is probably console.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that. And they're always, we use steamdb.info for current players, and when you go to their homepage, they show the list of the top played games right now. Rocket League is always within the top 10 or top 15 games on their homepage. They only show the top 15 games. They are always within that top 15. But
there's not very many other games other than there's a lot of people on console who play Madden and play games like that, but I'm not bringing those ones into the picture because that's a niche audience in itself.
Yeah.
But I would say that I can't think of any other games that really work with that type of a model that these companies are relying on to make money on a consistent basis. I mean, this works. So they're going for it.
We talked about this last week, and it's going to be coming out as The Division 2. This is a game now that is coming out in this, in the BR culture. I mean, I'm trying to think of what the last game I played. I'm going to not count Rocket League or Red Dead Redemption 2, because those games are, again, as you've stated, are kind of different. I'm trying to think of the last non-BR game I played. And I played on Halloween. I played Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 2. I think.
And we played Atlas.
Okay, you're right. We did play Atlas. Okay, so Atlas is the last one. I played that in December. I have not played that since the end of December. So it's been, at this point, 2.5, going on 3 months. I have not touched a game that is not besides Rocket League. And I've played some games on the Switch, but that's a little bit different. I just got the Switch, and I'm playing games because I just got them.
Trying out things.
Yeah, of course. But Well, here's a great example on the PC. I don't think I've played a not BR besides Dead by Daylight on the PC in 3 months. I think that's a pretty accurate statement. One game, Dead by Daylight, on the PC is the only other game that I have played. That I think I've played that is not a BR.
But I think we've seen this trend in our audience. I mean, we are a survival podcast, right? We've seen this trend with people that, we've seen this with people. I can look at my Steam list. I can look at just the history of players that we've encountered over this time. And I can tell you, people are not playing survival games. I mean, they're just, find a survival game for me. Like, people struggle to name a survival game anymore.
Ark, Rust, and Atlas are the top 3 that are really holding any and 7 Days has got a decent sized player base.
It's got its audience,
but that's it.
Yeah,
all those games combined.
If you look, there's people that are playing Ark that are consistent, but they've been playing Ark. It's the same set of people that have been playing Ark for years. Atlas, the numbers have been really dropping. I think they've been. It's got much less numbers than Ark has now.
All of those 4 or 5 top survival games, I would venture to say, fail to break 120,000 concurrent players combined. So a game like Fortnite and PUBG and Apex at this point, at any given point in time, are blowing out. Those singular games are blowing out the max peaks on any one of those survival games at any given point in time. There are more people playing Fortnite in the middle of the night in the United States than the 7-day max of all of those big survival games, which are Atlas, Rust, Ark, and probably 7 Days to Die. Those 4 games. It annihilating them. Probably less than 100,000 players. Ark's got a lot, but even
look at the models that they've adopted. As far as none of those games have come up with a way to get money from you after the initial purchase. Ark has not.
Ark had the DLC. Ark released.
Those are DLCs, whole new contents though. Pretty much whole new.
I mean, that's what Call of Duty. That's previously how Call of Duty and Battlefields do it.
They haven't come up with a way to be able to use skins or any of those things to get money out of you. That Rust has not. Ark, Atlas has not. I mean, just anything that we name as survival, they've not come up with a way to
Rust
get this money that they're able to get.
Doesn't Rust have a pretty big Steam store where you can buy things?
Yeah, but those are like people make them.
You're right. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that all works out.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's not one where you look at all of these top battle royale games, they come up with a way for you to give them money somehow. It's like mobile games. I mean, every mobile game has some way that they're getting money out of you.
Clash of Clans making like $80 million a month or something like that. I mean, it's some disgusting amount of money.
I got my wife off of that game, so it took me a while.
Congratulations, good for you.
Yeah. She finally uninstalled it. I guilted her into it enough.
So it's a money thing, but it's also, I mean, I guess it's, Brian, frankly, it's a player-based thing. There are just not that many people that are interested in playing survival games in this day and age. Our whole community was spawned off of H1Z1. I was just having a conversation with our friend UGX Vibe. We were talking about something about the podcast, and he goes, "Oh man, I can't believe I found you guys during H1Z1, the original H1Z1, the Just Survive variant." Yeah. And that's how our whole community was spawned. And we failed to get anybody in our group to really. But the last time we played a survival game together, really, before Atlas, was 7 Days to Die, which was in November.
And we can only get them to play that for certain periods of time.
A weekend.
Like it's not a long-term thing.
We did it. Didn't we do a 24-hour or 12-hour marathon with 7 days. I feel like it was 24 hours. No, it was 12.
I don't remember. It's 12 hours.
12 hours straight. With 7 Days to Die. But we were waiting a year and a half for that update.
Yep. But then people have not been interested in playing it since. I know Heisenberg got his computer fixed. He's like, anybody want to play? And nobody answered.
Silence. Yeah. Well, and I think part of it is, and again, this is our and frankly, we do our show really for our community more than, I mean, that's kind of why we continue to do the podcast, is the people that, are active in our group listened to it and seemed to like it. I just don't feel like people want to invest the time. I mean, now
I think that we've gotten video game ADD. I think the type of game that used to be you'd play a game, play it for a long period of time.
Arc.
I think now these games have to feel like they have to be a short, quick game because you never know in 2 weeks a new game's going to come out and it's going to pull them away.
Yeah.
I think that has really changed to where the mindset. It's been the players that have changed because of some of these other games coming out. I think the whole BR thing totally killed the mindset of the player when it comes to survival because it got their minds registered to do quick, pick up a lot of loot. You got to get a lot of loot. You got to run. You got to get to the middle. You got to kill people. Where before the whole survival game was taking your time, not being noticed. There would be just surviving as long as you can, playing over a weeks period of time, just kind of working on something. That is not the mindset of the current player. I mean, that seems to have gone away, and I don't know, will it come back? I mean, is there a game that can come out and make people do that again? I mean, Atlas came out, and people seem to have a much shorter time span with that than you would think.
I really don't know where. I just don't know where we're going. I mean, and I see this. I saw a meme on Reddit last week, I think, and it was something like Apex Legends. The logo of Apex Legends was in the foreground, and then there was like a little person sitting in the corner, and it was like single player fans or something like that. It was just, and it was like, damn, what was the last popular single player game? Minus Red Dead Redemption 2. Again, that is different. People have been waiting. It was 7 years for that game to come out. But I mean, what's the last single player game that you've played?
I mean, I play on console something like Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that's kind of its own thing. Like, I would never consider that playing it.
Is it?
I mean, it's however many months old.
Yeah.
It's their newest one.
But I'm sure people have already people got that on launch and have already played that.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing is, you play it once and then you're done. I
mean, I've been playing some single player games on the Switch, but that kind of lends itself to that. Outside of that,
The Long Dark is a really good one. I mean, that's a single player game, but that's kind of that niche audience. Like, that's a beautiful game. There's not that many people who play it.
It just seems to me that in 2019, if it's not a sports game, a Call of Duty-esque shooter game, or a battle royale game, you're almost kind of wasting your time. And this is from the consumer. This is from me as a consumer and an enthusiast and a player saying, you know what? Even though your game looks great, oh God, the new Resident Evil Remastered. I freaking love Kingdom Hearts. A new Kingdom Hearts game just came out. Why didn't I buy it, Brian? Because I knew damn well it was going to sit back on this goddamn shelf back here with half a dozen other PlayStation 4 games that are still in the cellophane wrap that I have not opened. That's exactly why I didn't buy it. I freaking love the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I loved it as a kid. And as a 22-year-old, I still love it now, and when I eventually get around to playing it, it's gonna bring me back to having the PlayStation 2 set up in the basement and playing the game with my friends and having a grand old time. But I didn't buy it because I knew damn well I wasn't gonna play it, and that sucks because I freaking love that franchise, and I mean, it sucks, but I've got ADD. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I mean, it could be partially to the economy. I mean, if you want to look at it, the economy coming back, people tend to have jobs, and people are busy. Like we're at a peak in people being employed right now.
Yep, that's true.
If you look back when there was some of the highest unemployment, back when probably we started this podcast, there was still a lot of unemployment at that point. I think people weren't as busy, and maybe that has something to do with it too. Like people they want a quick game because you know what? They're just getting home from work, where before maybe they weren't.
Well,
I wonder how much that plays into it that we just don't realize.
Yeah, and now me specifically, I'm in a employment situation that I never really envisioned myself in, where I'm working crazy hours and kind of on call all the time. Now, when we started the show, was I in high school? I mean, maybe I was I think I was. I was at the end of high school, and then I went to a community college, light schedule, like 14 credit hours or whatever a semester, however it calculates. I was not busy by any stretch of the imagination. But, now working into full-time employment where I am, why didn't you answer my question? Why didn't I buy Kingdom Hearts? Because I don't have free time. I don't have it. Or the free time I do have, Brian, you know what I do? I either talk with people in our Discord group or I watch YouTube videos.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, it's a commitment. And for me, that's why there's certain the games that I do play, I play at night right before I go to bed. Because it's something that I use to kind of wind down. But during the day, it's like I'm doing school, or I got too much other stuff. And I think that plays into it. I think that is a lot of America right now is, man, I'm just busy. I know Firebomb has said that. He's like, he's been playing games on his console because there's just less of a commitment.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a lot of what is happening. Are people, a huge portion of our audience is Europeans, people over the seas. They're not having the same economic boom that we're having right now. I think we've seen a lot of our American audience not around as much. And maybe it has to do with the fact that, man, they've got new jobs and they're busy.
Well, and we attributed a lot of that to the time of the year. It was a Christmas time, but now we're back in quarter 1, which in terms of people being, and a lot of people that work in, like I'll use our friend Lance as an example without giving out too much information. He works in an industry in which they get very large projects, and for a 6 or 8 or 12-week period of time, he will be incredibly busy based on what the field that he's in. And typically quarter 1 of the new year is the slowest, worst quarter of the year. It's people are kind of crashing after the holidays. It's not a very good quarter in terms of the economy, in terms of people buying things. So companies that kind of strive and survive on getting these bids and getting these contracts in. I talked to him just last week, and he said, man, we have never been this busy before at this time of the year. And you're right. Maybe that is part of it. I mean, maybe that's part of it. I mean, maybe there are these external factors that really
that just gets that's what I get a sense of. And I think that the industry is playing into it of, all right, we're going to give you quick games. We're going to give you games that if you have 30 minutes, you can play for 30 minutes. If you have 20 minutes, you can play for 20 minutes. I think that has been the turn of the game. People aren't just coming and playing all afternoon anymore.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you're going to wind down at night, right? You play video games for an hour. I mean, you are going to get way more again, this is an opinion, but I think you're going to get way more satisfaction out of playing maybe 4, 5 Fortnite or ROE or Apex or PUBG. Well, PUBG you play about maybe 1 matches in that time period than you would playing Red Dead Redemption 2 for an hour.
Or even 7 Days to Die, playing that for an hour.
Might as well not even play.
Have the progress.
I mean, honest to God, if you told me I had to play Red Dead Redemption 2 for 1 hour every night, I don't think I'd play it. If you told me the only way to ever finish the game is to play for 1 hour every night, I'd never finish the game, because you get nothing done in an hour. You don't. You spend 40 of those minutes running back and forth to quests, or 20 of those minutes running back and forth to the different quests. And that's not a bash on single player games, but if people are just investing less time in video games, how do you ever beat a Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption 2 or Fallout 76? I mean, a Kingdom Hearts. How do you ever play any of these games? How do you finish them? You can play them, but how the hell do you ever finish them? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I can go out and buy Kingdom Hearts if I want to, but it's just going to be a waste of $60.
Well, I'm not going to finish it. I think these games also kind of trigger the reward section of your brain.
Oh yeah,
in a rapid basis. The getting the quick kills, you're getting the wins, things like that. Picking up an epic piece of loot or something. Like I don't know if it's dopamine or whatever it is that it is releasing in your brain. I think that the rewards that you get from playing those slow games, it's not very rapid. It's very spread out. Like you do get gratification out of it, but I think that just like they have with social media and they've tried to maximize on that dopamine effect, I think they're doing the exact same thing in video games, to where they're just trying to get it to where you get as much of a high, I guess you could say, from playing it during that period of time as possible. I mean, they've done that. You'd have to say they've done that with Fortnite.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if you look at how these kids react to it, they're just like, I mean, they're nuts over Fortnite. And I don't remember other games ever doing that, other styles of games ever doing that before.
I can tell you what, I have absolutely been experiencing that high with Apex Legends. I mean, we'll leave a game and come in second or third place, and we'll get back to lobby and go, damn, that was a good game. Like, we had some crazy good gunfights, and you're jacked up, you're amped up, and you get that in single player games, but you got to play for like 4 hours, 5 hours, and do a large portion of the story, and then it's this oh my god moment where this crazy thing is happening. You can get it in, I mean, a long Apex Legends map is 18 minutes, 22 minutes, something like that. I mean, you can get that high very, very quickly. That
reward you're almost guaranteed getting.
It's awesome.
Where before you didn't know if you were going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying. Again, we are still in the honeymoon phase of Apex Legends. Every single one of these BR games has got a honeymoon period. This game is no different. But
I mean, I remember that honeymoon. I remember that phase with PUBG of
so do
getting
I.
those kills and being like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah, man.
It gave you a great feeling. Of course, then over time that went away. Fortnite, I think, has managed to maintain it for a lot of people. ROE, you get that feeling a lot of times.
Yeah.
When you're playing that game. H1Z1 used to do it. I don't know if they're. I think that as you leave that style, that reward, and I think sports games, I think that's one reason why sports games are very popular on console. There's a lot of that, I made a goal reward.
Yeah, they're incredibly popular.
Rocket League has that same feeling of, I scored. Most games can't deliver that reward in that amount of time like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. All right. So before we wrap up this conversation here, there are 3 games that we've got listed as coming soons in the Battle Royale realm and space. The first one here is, we've talked about a lot, is PlanetSide Arena. Now, this is coming off of PlanetSide 2, which was and is a free-to-play game, but they're releasing PlanetSide Arena as a $29, $29.99, $30 Battle Royale, kind of mix between PlanetSide and H1Z1 in terms of how it plays through.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that game and how it's going to perform in this marketplace of literally, no exaggeration, 20 other Battle Royale games all competing for the same amount of players?
I think they're going to get a small number of people from the regular PlanetSide that maybe have been playing the PlanetSide 2 for years, and they just want something different, but they like that series. I think you'll get a set of those. I really don't see any new players coming in out of this. I don't see people looking and saying, "Oh, look at that, a new game came out," and getting it, especially at that price point. The price point for me, for the age of the technology and just what you're getting versus the original PlanetSide, personally, I don't see it taking off. So I think it's going to be something that it's going to be minimal numbers. I mean, I don't know what Daybreak is going to do at this point. This may be one of the last things that we see released from them, honestly, just over time and seeing what's happened.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So I don't see it being something of a shocker of being a great game. I mean, I don't see it happening.
And now the next one here is Battlefield 5's Battle Royale mode, which they're calling Firestorm. This is, and there's if you look up online, there's some articles and journalists writing about, is there a world in which Firestorm and Apex Legends can exist because they're both being published by EA. Now, the only difference is that Respawn Entertainment is the one that built Apex Legends, and EA published it. EA actively works on the development of Battlefield, but nevertheless, this is going to be bundled into the regular Battlefield 5 game, which is $60. Very similar to what we saw with Call of Duty and Blackout. Does this have any chance in the marketplace?
The downside I see about this is there's not a way for them to really have unique characters. I think one thing that Apex is probably one of Apex's strongest suits, the things that they have going for it, is the fact that they have some characters that have uniqueness to them. They have stories. I think they're very much an Overwatch. As far as you look at Overwatch, those people have stories and people seem to care about their backstories.
Yeah.
And each of the characters are incredibly unique in Overwatch. I think that Apex has that. I think that's what they're going for, is they're having incredibly unique characters that have very different play styles in the long run. I don't see Battlefield doing that. I mean, you'll maybe have a guy who shoots one type of gun versus another, but they're kind of stuck in that realistic feel. So I don't know how much they can really do. I mean, there are a lot of people that played various Battlegrounds, but I know that Battlefield 5 didn't do as well as what they were hoping. You know, it's not having the hype and everything that they were probably having from some of the earlier ones. So I don't know. I think this will be probably more of a console game.
Okay.
Maybe people will play it more on console, but I never get the urge. I'll play Call of Duty. I never get the urge to play Battlefield, and I have a number of them.
Yeah. I think they're going to have a real uphill battle with that with that one. And I actually really do enjoy Battlefield. I have played, and at one point pretty regularly played Battlefield 1 on the PC and really enjoy the playthrough of Battlefield. Now, here's the last one. This game is, we talked about it. We've talked about it in the past, and I haven't really heard anything about it recently, and that is Mavericks, which you have been very positive on based on its development and the cycle it's going through, its development cycle. And so right now you can be part of its backer campaign, essentially for $30, but on launch, that's going to be free. This game is
I'm actually a backer for it. So I have played it, but the thing is they're more testing technologies and things. They haven't really released any of the core content, and I would be fine if they don't until it's ready. I'm done with games that are gonna kind of slowly give me content. What we talked about it a lot today. I don't have time. I don't have time to do this week. I'm going to put out this one thing, and then next week we're going to put out this one thing. I want to play the game.
Yeah.
As it's intended now. I've gotten over the whole alpha thing. I'm fine with not doing alphas anymore.
No more alpha, bro.
No more alphas. So I think with this, if they wait till it's polished enough, because it does have different technology. I mean, it has a lot of players. It has unique things about it. But if they're going to release too early, I could see it just not taking off. Especially if it doesn't have standout mechanics in it. It has to have something that makes it truly unique in this time. People won't care if it has 1,000 players if it's not fun.
I'll tell you this, Brian. And you obviously have played Mavericks, and you know a lot more. Mavericks is one of the games that you follow. In what we talk about on this show. I really don't see how a game like Mavericks, even being free, is going to be able to survive in this environment right now. If this is let's assume that Apex Legends continues to be a very popular game in the battle royale space, moving into either the third or second slot in tier of successful popular games. I really don't see how a game like Mavericks, now, can it pull in a couple of thousand concurrent players? Yes. But that can only last for so long, as we've been talking about, because that 1,000, not long, we don't have to look too far back in the past to see when H1Z1 had 3, 4, 5, 6,000 concurrent players, and now they struggle to break 2,000 unique players. Brian, we get more downloads on this podcast than people that play H1Z1 in a week's period. That, I mean, so at what point do you say we can't do this? And I'm not saying I want Mavericks to fail, but how do you, what was the game that was going to release and PUBG, crap, there was a Battle Royale game that was supposed Islands of Nine. Like, how do you, like, this Apex game came out of freaking nowhere, and it has taken a vacuum to the Battle Royale community and sucked up all the players that kind of hop around between all the different games. How am I going to find time to play Mavericks?
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think that personally, after just watching everything and doing game development, I don't think Mavericks is going to be as groundbreaking as what people are thinking. People see cutscenes and clips and things like that, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to have this totally dynamic world because all these things can be tracked." And I mean, I hear all the hype, I hear all the things they're saying, but I do understand networks really well. I understand computers and servers and all these things. There's still a limit to the amount of information that you can send to a person. Sure, you can have the server that processes it, but there's still a limit to what your graphics card and what your CPU can handle. Because I know what I can do local. I know what I can do on a single player, on my computer, processing that information. And I know there is a limit. That, and that's my worry is people think, oh, now we can do almost anything. Okay, no. Sure, you could send all that to the server, but there's still a limit to what your computer can do. And so I think people are thinking, are you going to see individual blades of grass burning? And the other person's going to be standing there and looking at the same blade of grass and see it burn, or this footprint, all these footprints. They're going to do more than what multiplayers have been able to do up to this point, but it's not going to be a groundbreaking. This is something drastically new and different that we've never seen before. I think that all they're doing is getting closer to a single player experience as far as the graphics and the world that you see around you. I think that's what we're inching towards with technologies that allow kind of like what they're doing with Arc or with Atlas and what they're doing with upcoming Mavericks. I think what they're doing is just making it to where it's closer to a single player experience, but with a lot of people. It's not going to be super groundbreaking, and I think some people will be disappointed that when it releases and realizes, oh, this is a game. It's a normal game. Just there's a lot of people, and they've managed to pull that off.
I'll give you just one more thing here before we get out of here this evening. I'll give you a great example. Realm Royale just recently did a massive patch. They introduced a whole bunch. They introduced a whole new system into the game. They're what are they calling it? The skill system or something like that they just introduced.
I don't remember exactly what they.
I have wanted to for the past 3 weeks get into
because they had all new talents. I think it was the talent. Well, they redid all the talents. Yeah,
it's just crazy. It totally changed. There's like different perks now. It's crazy how it's like game changing what they've introduced. And for 3 weeks now, I've been wanting to play it. And guess what? I've been unable to do over the past 3 weeks. Play the freaking game, and it's free. That's the worst. Yep. And guess what's even worse, Brian? It's installed on my damn hard drive. I have it. All I have to do is click play. And I'd rather not. I'd rather play Apex. I'd rather play this. I'd rather play that. I'd rather do something else.
And that's what all these companies are fighting against. And I think we're going to see it 6 months from now, once these companies start realizing what's happening with their money. I think that we'll see a lot of games start cutting out because it's not profitable. They have to be profitable to stay open and keep servers up. And the industry is in such a weird place. I mean, we saw such a boom of games, all these games starting to come out. But you know what? That's not sustainable. Just like you can't have the economy constantly growing and growing and growing and growing without a burst. I think with the gaming, you can't. There's not enough players to fill all these games.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a point to where one game is going to die out, another game is going to die out because you know what? People are moving on to another game, and these companies either have to adjust and figure out how they're going to do that. Not have games, not put so much into one game, or rely on that for years of time like they used to. They're going to have to figure out something.
By June or July of this year, the summer of 2019. there will likely be upwards of 25 to 30 active battle royale games out and fully playable. 25 to 30 games. We've got 20 now.
Yep.
Almost 20 right now. I mean,
and your average player only plays games that their friends are playing. And when their friends move on to a different game, they go right with it. And so, we've seen almost overnight games just empty their player base.
Yeah.
Because once they move on to one, they move on, they right on to the next one, and people don't come back.
Just last week in our Discord, was playing Apex with one of our active community members, and he drug his friend who doesn't typically play battle royale games into our Apex game. He goes, "Oh, what's the Discord link? Let me get this guy in here." He's playing the game. He was like level 3. Yep. He was not forcing him, but telling him, "Hey, come play this battle royale game. It's free." And lo and behold, we played a couple games and we had a good time. So you're totally right about the friends. You play the game that your friends are playing. Nobody wants to sit here and play games alone. So that's driving it more than anything else. Alrighty, Brian. Before we get out of here, you got any final words of wisdom before we get out of here?
No. Make sure you come and join us in Discord. We've been playing games on the weekend. Just jump in. If you're a person who sits there and listens to the podcast and you've never actually jumped into our Discord or played any games with us, that's the main thing you can do. Jump into our Discord, whatever game you happen to be playing. Just jump in and do it, because that's the thing for us. That's what keeps us playing games, is that community. And if you find yourself struggling to want to play a game, jump into a place where other people are playing games and you'll be like, "Oh, I'll try that out." We do have a video game ADD.
Yeah.
But hey, we do play games. So
absolutely. That works. Alrighty. Thank you, Brian.
Yep. See ya.
All right. Well, welcome back. We're back here live now, and hopefully you enjoyed our discussion about battle royale games. Obviously all of that still stands minus the release of PlantSide Arena, which has now been delayed until the summer. Before we get out of here this evening, we got a couple of housekeeping things to do, and that would be first and foremost is going to be Current Players, which is a segment where we talk about some of the games that people play and the numbers of people that are currently playing them. So, without further ado, let's jump into Current Players. How about H1Z1, King of the Kill, currently playing 463, the 24-hour peak 1,575. with a 7-day peak of 2,084. Moving on over to Ark Survival Evolved, currently playing 25,848, with the 24-hour peak 37,792, with a 7-day peak of 52,889. Moving on over to PUBG, currently playing 152,852, your 24-hour peak 845,996, with a 7-day peak of 931,754. All right, here it is. This is the number that we've been kind of watching closely. Atlas, currently playing 9,127. This is the first time that Atlas has been below 10,000 current players since we've been tracking the game since December. The 24-hour peak, 12,075, and the 7-day peak, 16,826. So again, that is the first time that we have seen Atlas's current player numbers as we do the show, which is obviously live on Tuesday nights, below 10,000 players, and they're about 850 or so players short of that 10,000 player mark. And maybe it's unfortunate, maybe it's not, depending on your perspective, but it does appear that that trend is going to continue downward, unfortunately, if you're an Atlas fan. Well, Ark still looks pretty rock solid. Well, I'm stealing his segment. I don't believe I've ever done a tip of the week before, but I will. Brian typically does tip of the week, which is a I don't remember how he announces it. It's here's a tip on a useful tip in a video game we play this week. It's going to be, again, as it was last week, Apex Legends. This is tip of the week. All right. Tip of the week is one that I have been taking to heart in Apex Legends, but maybe you haven't been. When you go down in Apex Legends, when you get shot and your health, you lose all your health, you go into a state where you can be revived from your teammates. You have a health bar and you can use your knockdown shield to stay alive. But when you're down in that state, you can continue to ping enemies and other players. So the tip of the week this week is when you are in a down state in a gunfight with your teammates, continue to ping the enemy's locations because you want to give your teammates that are still alive a better chance of killing the enemy if they don't have the same line of sight or same perspective that you have. For example, if you've pushed up in front of your teammates and get knocked down behind a rock, you may be able to see enemies that are poking out and head glitching behind rocks or walls or doors or wherever they may be. You may have a sight advantage that the rest of your team does not. So while you're down, you can either press F on an enemy to ping them, if that's the default key, or just press the regular middle mouse button when you're aimed on an enemy, and it will ping them as red, and it gives your teammates maybe just a little more of an upper hand on killing those enemies and then having the opportunity to revive you. So that is tip of the week. Ping enemies when you're in the down state if you can. All right, let's let's do our raffle here. Let's see how this works. And the winner of our game that we're giving away this week, which is Rise, Son of Rome, is Langgun44. So thanks to Langgun for jumping into the chat live and being part of the program. We travel and have traveled the past 2 years out to PAX with our friend Lance. He does all of our swag and merch that we have got at those shows. He does all that stuff for us. So thanks to Lance for doing that. And then real quick before we get out here, I do want to thank again Green Man Cartoons, Saul Greatman, and Tag Durante, all for their resubscriptions during this week's program. We genuinely appreciate it if you are subscribed to the channel. It makes trips like this September, hopefully, heading out to PAX West in Seattle, and it makes trips like that possible. Plus, maintains our server where we host some of our different game servers and all that other stuff possible. So we thank everybody for that. I do have a quick note, an event going on this weekend. If you are around on Saturday, around 7 p.m. Eastern, our friend Musty is hosting a game in Arma 3 called Zeus's Operations. It's a PvP event where Zeus, who is a god, controls the AI in game, and all of the other players try to take a set objective that Zeus and the AI are trying to defend. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would highly recommend that you join us this Saturday. It'll be around 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can get all the links, all the information, all the server details in our Discord, which you can find on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Just head over there, click the big green join our Discord button, and look out for Musty's name Saturday night, and he'll get that all set up. He'll get you all the information you need. And if you're hanging around Sunday night or Saturday night rather, looking for something to do, go ahead and jump in there, and we'll have a good group, I'm sure, playing that. Again, game of the week this Friday night is Rocket League. So if you don't have that installed, you can go ahead and get that all up to date, all installed, and be ready to go for our Friday night game of the week, which kicks off right around 8 o'clock Eastern. Same thing in our Discord. Links and all that other information is on our website. It is infectionpodcast.com. Well, we made it. I want to thank Brian for sitting down with me and recording that segment earlier in the week, so we were able to do that. And thank you for putting up with my voice, which has been going in and out over here over the past hour or so. So I guess that is going to do it for another episode of Infection, the Survival Podcast. If you missed any portion of the show, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.